If you're looking to inspire more referrals in your chiropractic practice, there are 6 essential referral essence components. The first of those is cost, and that's what we're talking about today on Coffee with Dr. Scott. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Dr. Scott. We got a good show today, starting cost. So again, cost is first for a reason. I mentioned that in the intro, that the first of them is cost. It is first for a reason, because in most of the practices that I've worked with that have little or no referrals, which is not a good place to be, it's not uncommon to find that if we change up the cost, we change up the strategy, referrals really begin to flow. So before I get started with today's show, I want you all to relax, because I am not going to tell everybody to lower your fees. In fact, at the end of, I don't say today, but after the end of us talking about cost over the next couple of weeks, you might feel more comfortable raising your fees. You're going to know if, when, and how to raise your fees, even to slightly a little bit higher than your competition. So stay tuned for that. First thing is the question of the day. Pardon me, we did things a little differently today. I want to make sure everything's working right here. Looks to be okay. So, question of the day. Have you done any spring cleaning yet? Have you done any spring cleaning yet? And if so, what is something you finally got rid of? What is something that you maybe pulled out, been holding on to for a while, and then just decided that you had to chuck it? It'd be hard for me to say on that one, because we've kind of gotten rid of everything. Ever since the fire in November, we put a whole bunch of stuff down here in the basement, but now that we refinished the basement, everything had to go. You can't see. You might be able to see a little bit out that window. There's just a mess of stuff. And it's basically just from us having cleaned out, done a whole bunch of spring cleaning. So we've been in constant spring cleaning mode. Ever since I talked about it at launch prep last November, when we had the fire, all the way through, we've just been kind of getting rid of stuff and looking at stuff that we used to have that we didn't want to rebuy. So we've been in constant spring cleaning mode. So have you done any spring cleaning? And if so, what is one thing that you finally got rid of? Put that in the comments down below, please. I'm still trying to see if this, like I said, we scheduled the show a little differently. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I want to just make sure everything's going smoothly here. All right. Anyways, as I mentioned, by the time we're done talking about cost, you're going to know that if you should raise your fees. Too many docs I see try to do something that's a little higher than the competition. They're not quite ready for it. If you feel like you want to raise your fees, and I think every chiropractor wants to raise their fees, but before you do that, it has to be a factor of you being able to communicate value. We're going to get to that here in a second, as well as your perceived validity with your patients. Now, I mentioned that this kind of seems to be a secret amongst chiropractors, and I say that because it's just something that doctors don't want to talk about. When I bring up a pricing strategy with most doctors, those doctors get the look of a deer in headlights about to get hit by an oncoming truck. Doctors just don't feel like they have enough information to make good decisions about their pricing strategy. Most doctors they want to raise their fees because obviously our cost of living is going up. Meanwhile, obviously insurances are hurting us. We'll get to that here in a second as well. But most doctors just live in fear that they're going to alienate their entire patient base and just get wiped out. So they stay in this situation where they're not charging more for too long. And then when they do finally change their fees, they completely overreact. They go completely overboard. They kill their clinic and they completely destroy the referral mechanism. So I think that's why docs live in fear of it, because it has happened. It happens a lot, actually. So if you're not getting enough referrals, and again, remember that this is what this is about. This is not about this particular day on Thursday, although we're talking about cost, isn't really about the cost. It's about getting referrals and how your cost can affect that. So if you're not getting enough referrals by the measurements that we've laid out, if you're not 10, 12 or above at the bare minimum on a weekly basis, or 50% of your new patients are coming referrals, do not naturally assume that it's because of prices, at least not yet. It still might be, but we will get there, all right? I see Casey, Eileen, and John have joined us. Emily stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. All the extra, bro, for the aquarium. Disney. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you cleaned out your cup drawer. I do that on a regular basis. The kids always end up bringing home cups. They don't last very long in my house. Anybody else just joining us? Again, the question of the day is over there. So have you done any spring cleaning? If so, what have you cleaned out? Back to that referral part of cost, because again, that is what we're talking about here. Remember what I said last week is that you know what your patients want. You just don't know that you're not giving it to them. So when we talk about your pricing strategy being a secret, fees are a perfect example of you not knowing that you're not giving the patients what they want. You start to wonder why doctors would kill their practice with high fees. Well, the reason doctors kill their practice with high fees is because they don't even know they're doing it. Patients are not going to tell you. Patients vote with their feet, right? Even if you asked your patient straight to their face, say, are my fees reasonable? They're all going to tell you yes. Very few of them are going to give you any kind of flack whatsoever. However, if you ask them anonymously, there's some sort of a survey or something where they could answer anonymously, you'd probably get different information. I remember one time my mother went to a doctor who recommended a diagnostic test that would have cost her $3,200 out of pocket and seemed to have nothing to do with the condition she came in for. And she did not say a word to this doctor, even though then the doctor, she kind of made a face, and the doctor was like, well, is there a money issue here? And my mother was embarrassed. If she said there was no money issue, then he kind of had her, right? He had her trapped, and now she had to pay for the test. And if she said, no, if she felt like she should be going to a free clinic, she just was kind of in a bad place. And obviously, what did she do? She walked out. She never told the doctor that the pricing was an issue. So for something like that's that obvious. In fact, that doctor was brought up on insurance fraud charges just not too long after that. So my mother would have actually done him a favor, right? If she had said something about his pricing strategy, if she had told him. But patients don't. So if they're not going to do it for that big of an issue, they're certainly not going to do it for you being a little bit overpriced. They're just going to vote with their feet. It's not going to elicit a comment. Only a few of your patients are actually going to throw down with you, right? And those are usually ones that are overstressed for some other reason. You sit there and you look at the length they went to tell you what was wrong, and you figure it's probably about something else, not for you. So one thing when it comes to cost is don't assume that because just a few people are complaining about it, that's not a problem. It could still be. Obviously, in this insurance world that we're dealing with, there's a pricing issue in the fact that your prices are actually going down as far as you're concerned. You're getting paid less and less, but your patients are paying more and more. So the insurance companies are cutting your fees. It's actually the out-of-pocket costs are going up. So it seems to you that your prices are going down and you're more affordable because you're not getting paid as much. But it's hidden in a price increase for your patients, and you've got to be aware of that. And as out-of-pocket costs increase, you're not going to see a mass exodus from the practice. And again, sometimes it's almost better if that did happen. The only way that you're going to get a mass exodus from the practice is if you send out a letter telling everybody that you're getting out of all plans. Nothing can kill a practice faster than that. And I see some consultants out there recommending that, to go all cash and just tell everybody. That's not the way to do it. You need to wait until you're completely overrun with great referral practices, with great referral patients. That's when you can start weeding out bad insurance plans one at a time. Don't just leave them all at once. So if your referrals are low, again, realize that prices could still be at the root of your problem. The problem a lot of times is that you have a few patients who are willing to pay. Unfortunately, there's too few of them. And when that happens, a lot of doctors think, well, I just need to educate my patients better. The staff will tell me that in staff meetings, the doctors will say, well, the patients just don't get it. It's not the patients, doc, it's you. Your ability at this point to communicate value to your patients, that's crucial to survive any kind of price issue. If your prices are noticeably above your competitors or even slightly above your competitors, you need to be able to communicate that value. And I see a lot of docs who did different techniques or think of themselves as special. And I'm not saying you're not special. But if your patients don't understand that, it's not about educating them more. Value is not really about the education. Value is centered in the concept of severity. Failing to communicate severity, if you can't do that, then any price you charge is too high. I always think about it like, say you took your car into an auto shop to get something fixed, and they tell you need a new paint job. And you look at it, and it's like $6,000. And you look at it, and you're like, car looks fine to me. But what if they lowered the price? Said, "Oh, I'll give it to you for $5,000." You're still not like, what? Even if they charge you $1,000, you're like, the paint job looks fine. I'm not going to do it. However, if they can show you where the rust is, and how it's changing things and how it's going to affect and what's going to happen over the course of a year, and you start to realize that the rust on the car sooner or later is going to cost more than the paint job is now, you're starting to get the idea, right? Value or severity is at the heart of pricing. If you think value first for your patients and how well you're able to communicate that value, then you start thinking about how much to charge, you'll have a lot better results. As you can see, it's homeschooling day. So once you've managed your value communication skills, then you're ready to test yourself with higher prices. In fact, if you've done your job right in communicating value to the patient, their perception, like in that car situation, will be that ultimately it's going to cost them more to not receive the treatment than to just go ahead and get the treatment now. Now, I want to be very clear when we talk about severity that I'm not saying to enhance that severity. I'm telling to be honest about that severity. Again, I know there are a lot of chiropractors out there who do that. I'm not telling that for you, but you've got to be able to be honest, tell them what's going to happen in the future, and create some value there. Your service, as we talk about these 6 referral essence components, will inspire referrals as long as your price doesn't undercut efforts. And that's why I talk about cost first, because it's defensive. If you have great service, but your costs are too high, you're still not going to get the referrals that you want to. So you got to make sure that your costs are there. They're in line with your value and your validity. So validity, I didn't mention that yet. Validity is a perception that you and your clinic are in high demand. And you want to portray this validity. You want to enhance this validity. If patients come into your clinic and they find it filled with people, then you might be able to charge a little bit more for your services because obviously you are in high demand. However, if patients come in and your staff members sitting there idle, and you're ready and able to walk out of the back and tell them every joke because you have the time, then obviously you're not portraying validity. So the ability to communicate value and to portray validity are the 2 secret weapons in your battle to get top dollar for your services. So you need to ask yourself this question when you talk about cost. Am I happy with the number of patients that I have at the prices that I'm charging? If you aren't, then you need to change your pricing strategy. Or you need to get better at delivering on the value and validity like we just talked about. I see John saying, nice to finally see your son. Chip, say hi. Can you see him? Yes, he doesn't come in to the dungeon very often. He never came out in the garage. He was always still sleeping. Plus, Samantha is the attention hound. He's a little quieter, although he does like to dance and shake his booty every now and then, right, buddy?
You betcha.
Don't do it now. Anyways, as we get through this, I'm going to be showing you next Thursday. I'm going to give you 6 referral pricing strategies to follow. So I'm going to kind of give you the strategies you need to look at, things to address your own cost in your own practice. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Tomorrow we're going to do our recap show on Fridays. We always do the recap. There is a referral mastery. I said we're going to go through 6 referral strategies, but you can also get that a little early if you want to. There is a link in the comments down below to the referral mastery ebook that we put together last year. So if you'd like access to that, go ahead and click that link down below. We also have the Chiropractor Business Survival Guide, which is in another link in the comments down below. So if you're still here, make sure you answer that question of the day. It's mirrored. Make sure to answer the question of the day about spring cleaning, and check out those 2 resources down in the comments down below. I'll see you all tomorrow morning, Friday morning for the recap show. Have a great day.